Good morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another episode of Lovin Daily. I'm Jurgen Bonnici. Today with me we have Tim Diacono. Today's headlines are as follows. Justice Minister pledges concrete proposals for Malta's drug laws within coming months. More details on Joseph Muscat, Jurgen Fennec WhatsApp chat emerge in court. Man stabbed in neck in Mostar by former colleague speaks out. Gay cancer survivor in heated clash with Maltese cult leaders. And finally, Marsa Scala drive-through cinema plans scrapped due to unfair backlash and insults. You want to kick us off, Tim?
Yes, so Justice Minister Zamir Lewis has promised to present concrete proposals to improve Malta's drug laws and address the infamous problem of court delays. This comes after 25-year-old Lovin Daily was shockingly sent to jail yesterday for 3 months for having handed over 6 ecstasy pills to a friend outside a party 8 years ago. Now, the fact that this was quite a high-profile case, particularly because his mother is European Commissioner Helena Dalli, and it's actually sparked quite a debate about Malta's drug laws. So you have people like Franco Da Bono, Adrian D'Elia, Roberta Metsola, all calling for a reform, saying that justice delayed is justice denied, and that people shouldn't end up in jail just over a few pills. At least something seems to be happening. Let's see now if he actually delivers, right?
It was positive, to see the Justice Minister at least, make a statement of it, but call me a cynic, but for me it's a bit of same old, same old. How many times before have we heard, something is coming in the coming months on the issue of court delays themselves? This is a decades-old problem. Last year we had 2 guys who were murdered, and the guy who allegedly killed them was out on police bail because of court delays. When it comes to drugs, the time to take action is now. If somebody is getting sentenced to 3 months in prison for just six pills, 6 pills of ecstasy, it couldn't be clearer that the issue is in need for some serious reform. Let us know what you think about it in the comments below. This debate is sure to keep on going. To move on to our next story, more details of Joseph Muscat and Jurgen Fennec's private WhatsApp chats emerged in court yesterday. Essentially what was revealed was that Joseph Muscat, who was Prime Minister at the time, created the private WhatsApp group between himself and Fennec, which Schembri later joined, just a day after the arrest of George De Giorgio and Vince Muscat in connection with the assassination. Pretty shocking stuff, about the timeline itself. Keith Arnaud, the inspector, said, the messages don't actually confirm any references to murder, but the timing of the setting up that group raises a lot of questions. That was Malta's Prime Minister setting up a private line of communication with the man who later turned out to be the main suspect in the case. That's not all that emerged in court yesterday. Quite shocking was that Keith Arnaud confirmed that when they arrested Jurgen Fennec, they found a literal photo of Melvin Thomas pardon on his phone. Now, they can't say for certain where that came from. However, WhatsApp messages do give some indication of where it could have come from. The eve of Jurgen Fennec's arrest, Jurgen Fennec was busy contacting Keith Schembri. He sort of told him things like, don't leave me alone, and all of this, but at one point expressly asked for a copy of the pardon. Now, Keith Schembri has been linked to the case from leaks and everything, it's growing more and more. We'll obviously see what's going to happen in the coming weeks.
Yes, just as a quick reminder, Joseph Muscat had actually taken the decision to grant Melvin Thomas pardon by himself. He had made quite a big deal about this, the fact that he's taking on this responsibility by himself without getting his whole cabinet involved into it. Now, in hindsight, the fact that this pardon somehow ended up in the hands of the alleged mastermind, it's not on. It's absolutely unacceptable, and if nothing else, whoever gave this should be prosecuted as well for something like this. And very few people had access to this pardon. The Prime Minister himself did have access, the Keith Arnaud, the Police Commissioner, the Attorney General, and other members of the Daphne Caruana Galizia Task Force. So there's not really many avenues to look through. Moving on, quite a shocking story emerged yesterday. Lamir Mohammed, the 29-year-old Syrian, spoke to Lovin Malta about how he was attacked earlier this week by a former colleague of his in Mostar on Tuesday evening, and apparently this was because he had converted religion from Islam to Christianity. Now he said that he was just standing there waiting in the street in Mostar, and he suddenly feels a blow to the head. He realized it was a machete. Drove to Mater Dei with bleeding from the neck, and police are investigating, but this man is still at large. They attempted to kill him, actually. Very shocking. It's actually a terrorist act, right?
Yes, no, it's really shocking, and just to attack someone, based on potentially converting is absolutely crazy. To be honest, we need a bit of a strong action. This is Malta's slowly becoming a multicultural society with loads of different religions. Some might be extreme, and we need to take action and stamp these issues in the bud immediately. I'm still waiting for the Imam, to make a strong statement against this, and so we can finally nip this issue in the bud. Onto our fourth story, an explosive episode of Erba Fostil Jimma this week. There were fireworks over a debate between a gay cancer survivor and leaders of the controversial Jesus the Saviour religious group. For those of you who don't remember, Jesus the Saviour is a controversial group, sometimes labelled a cult with conservative views. Antonella Rogers, who was on the show, began discussing, her mother, who recently died and who was a member of the group, saying, the group manipulated her mother right up until death, even telling, representatives of the group who are on the show that she won't judge them, but God definitely will. Josette Bonello, on her end, from the Jesus the Saviour community, kept on calling Antonella Rogers a liar, diminishing her experience with the group itself, maybe giving some indication of what the Jesus the Saviour community is like when it's actually confronting internal debate within its community. Very interestingly, though, Lovin Malta also carried a latest story from Amy Attard, who is the daughter of Clyde Attard. He's the leader of the group that was on Sharabak, and essentially she just said, how sad it was to see her father completely brainwashed on national TV. I don't know what you think about it.
I think that we got an insight into the way these cults operate and the way they manipulate their followers, especially the ones who are vulnerable, lonely, and make them belong. There's a sense of belonging in this group, but then the moment they fall out, they're immediately cut off and thrown out in a very rude manner. I think we got to see some of the inner workings on Labour Fossil Jimma, and congratulations to Mark Lawrence for presenting this show. And our final story of the day, Marsa Scala is not getting a drive-through cinema after all, after the person behind the plans, lawyer Martin Testaferrata Maroniviani, withdrew his proposal because of the backlash, innuendos, and insults he received as a result. So we spoke to Lovin Malta. He said, I couldn't believe that people are saying that this is actually a smoke screen for apartments. I mean, all it was just something fun, a fun new form of entertainment that respects the COVID-19 rules. But after seeing all these insults and innuendos, it's just not worth it. Shame. I think Malta does need. I think it would be a good thing for Malta to have a drive-through cinema. We don't have one as it stands, and yeah, it's a shame to see it go.
Yeah, it is a shame, to see a project like that, suddenly scrapped. What I would say, though, it sort of does speak, to people's ultimate distrust, right, of any project that emerges, because we've been burned so many times. People couldn't just possibly believe, right, that somebody was just going to do something that wouldn't really affect the natural surroundings. And I guess while it is good for people to actually have an active voice, I just wish people were a lot stronger on the myriad of horrible developments killing the country, rather than on smaller things like this. I mean, we'll obviously see what happens in the coming weeks, That's it from today. And remember, have a day full of loving.